Hi, welcome to Walking Wilder. I'm Bark. There's something that you might be overlooking, and Spirit is calling you to pay more attention to the signs around you. Um, because it's time to make some sort of decision. Here's the fate and the destiny card. Now, faith is your karma. That's what you come in with. But your destiny is what you create. The decisions that you make, the responsibility you take on, the way you conduct yourself, the way you work with clearing your karma or does not work with clearing your karma. Um, so there's something big here that is calling your attention, that is trying to, the spirit, your guides are trying to get you to pay attention to. Um, Perhaps you're busy with other things. Perhaps you've given part of your power away to other people, situations. You might think that, well, um, I, you might be listening too much to what other people's opinions are about things. There's something here that Spirit is saying, hey, it's important that you make conscious decisions, that you pay attention to the help that they're trying to present to you, because this is a big decision that potentially karmic can have consequences. Um, Here at the bottom of the deck over here, I know you can't see that, but is abundance and prosperity. So this can potentially be things that you have an effect on your ability to manifest abundance and prosperity into your life. Can I have a couple of these, Spirit, to kind of see a little bit more what this could be about for the collective? And welcome back if you've been here before. Welcome in if you're new. I'm an intuitive reader. Gratitude. Forgiveness. Something about gratitude, forgiving and letting go. Perhaps you're holding a grudge about something, or someone is holding a grudge, that you're somehow involved in. Or this is just, well, not just, because that's easier said than done. Um, this is about some sort of connection, or this can also be, a part of yourself. Uh, but my feeling with this is it's about a connection that has taken up a lot of your power, that has drained your energy, that has, just in some way been out of alignment. And it's time to, you know, get back to the part of you that can see, okay, here was a lesson, um, and set the whole thing free to free up some space to call back your power to yourself so that you can manifest from a more um, unlocked space, I want to say. I know that sounds weird, um, but that's what's popping into my head. Um, let's see what else Spirit has to say here. But they're trying to guide you in this decision. Um, and it's kind of, well, a warning. Don't, freak out or anything. It's not, but it's kind of like, we are highlighting this with this lightning bolt. We're really, we're wanting you to know it's important that you take back your power, that you know, take your energy and use it on manifesting the life that you want. Some of you might have been codependent in some sort of relationship, or, given away your power in certain ways, or just put yourself aside, being people pleasing, that kind of thing. And it's like, it feels like, all right, time has come here to decide, do you want to be the one in control of your life? Do you want to be your own um, keeper of your own power? Or do you want to continue down this path creating karma that needs to be resolved at a later point? All right, Spirit, talk to me about the challenge in this. What are the energies challenging here? Yeah, Two of Pentacles. There's a decision you need to make. And here's the Judgment card. So there's something, some situation that you need to see for what it is, um, and make a call. Where do I want to go from here? How do I want to proceed? I'm sorry. Um, can you tell me more about what this is, Spirit? Six of Pentacles. See how intertwined they are, which, in some ways is a good thing, but this gives me the feeling, right, in this reading, that you're kind of like too dependent on other people's ways of seeing a situation. It's sort of like everything has been too connected, which is a weird thing to say, but that's what it feels like. It's like you have somehow, your energy has somehow become so intertwined with someone else's energy, or part, a shadow part of yourself, or it can be anything really, from love relationships to family to friends, whatever it is, or a part of you. But it's just like it has somehow taken up so much, I don't want to say time and energy, because space in you, that it's somehow preventing you from growth. See, here's the Nine of Pentacles at the bottom of the deck. See how this plant is, it's somehow it's preventing your spiritual growth, because it takes up too much space in your energy. It doesn't necessarily mean that it needs to completely go. It's not necessarily that you have to kick someone out of your life. For some of you it might be, but it's more you need space to kind of make decisions to create what you want to create from a perspective that's only yours, if that makes sense. Tell me more about this challenging energy here. Why is it so hard to do, Spirit? Why is this hard for the collective to do? Four of Swords. For some of you, the Page of Pentacles here, this is a very young, she looks very innocent. There's the bear sitting, kind of like this childhood thing. For some of you, this is a pattern you picked up, that you're kind of like, well, I need to take everybody else's into consideration before I make a decision. And, it's kind of almost more important that they are heard than that I am heard. That type of thing, it can be something that you learned in childhood, and you're just kind of like, well, and you might not even be aware of it. Sometimes, we have these patterns and we don't see our own shadows. We're just creating, and then, we're like, why do I keep, ending up in the same situations? Why do I, all of that, which of course, is because you're basically repeating things that you haven't seen yet. Here's the Four of Swords, which is about rest and healing, and that. So there's kind of like this. You need to get into better balance, to be more more balanced, in your own energy, not so much intertwined in this, but more in this energy of being, I am capable of manifesting by myself. I'm not codependent. I'm not, and I'm not saying you are, if this resonates, but it might be some other patterns that you have of somehow people pleasing, or putting your basically it's putting your needs, behind everybody else's. kind of like going, oh, I really want to, make this decision or do this, or I feel really called to blah, blah, blah. Oh, but what, if someone over here is not going to approve, or what's going to happen there, or who's going to take care of the kids, or, it can be a million different things. But there's a call here. Spirit is asking you to take back your power and remember that you are also here to create for you. And when you create for you, you automatically becomes more self-sufficient, stronger. You have more kindness, more love to give. You have more energy to give to others. So you have more to share with the world. Maiden of Swords, Three of Swords. This can, for some of you, this can really feel not scary, but, well, overwhelming. It can feel like, oh my goodness, I'm going to, if I do this, I might, cause someone else pain. If I start putting my own needs first, if I, all of that, someone else might, you know, might feel not so good. But, the Page of Swords here, again, well, not again, but um, this this is finding new information about who you are, how you know, how you become a better version of yourself. This is seeing, parts of yourself that you haven't seen in a while, since, her, basically. Seeing the signs that Spirit are giving you, kind of following the flow. Talk to me about the Three of Swords. Why is the Three of Swords here? Ace of Cups at the bottom. Here's the Magician and the Temperance. Yeah, it can be difficult for you to find balance in trying to create what you want to create. For some of you, you might be on some sort of spiritual path. You're wanting to create maybe a business, or you have, a creative calling that you really want to follow. But you're kind of like, well, if I do that, then it's going to be hard to find balance in my everyday life. Some people might not agree with what I'm doing, and some of it might also just be practical reasons, that you're like, well, I can't just, follow what's calling me. But Spirit is literally saying here, what's calling you is important, because it's a matter of being, on this fated thing, or choosing to create a new destiny. So this is kind of like a point of a choice point, a point where you can forgive yourself, forgive others, let go of, all this need to cooperate with others on every little single detail I hear. And don't get upset that might not be for all of you. But, cooperation is good, but it has to come from a heart space. It has to come from an aligned soul place where you feel like this is the right thing to do. It should never come out of, well, I kind of have to. That's not good energy, and that's sort of what I'm feeling with this. That there's a part of you that is like longing to create something else, but you are not really allowing yourself to do that, because you are, all of these old patterns. So, yeah, perhaps you need to forgive parts of yourself for making choices in the past that has put you in situations that has drained your energy and have, you know, been hard to deal with. Ace of Cups here at the bottom. Seeing your past decisions and the people in your life through the eyes of love from a higher perspective. This thing about, sometimes you end up in situations that are not good for you. But if you can forgive yourself and, others around you, and kind of remember that we are all souls that are just kind of playing roles for each other to learn. Um, move to a higher perspective here. What's the supportive energy here for this collective spirit? Seven of Pentacles. Three of Wands. And the High Priest is at the bottom. So yeah, this is you communicating also with your higher self and with your spirit guides and kind of opening up to the guidance that they're wanting to, you know, to give you. This is, they're, basically saying again, hey, there's guidance here for you to have if if you open up to it here. Three of Wands, see how there's that third eye in there. So this is like picturing what is it that I want to create and then consciously choose that instead of just, and I'm not, knocking that in any way, but sometimes we just kind of follow the yellow brick road wherever it goes. But this is about creating from a conscious point of view, not just, living out the karma that you came in with, but actively deciding, well, I need to let go of those old patterns that I came in with, that need to people please, that need to always, whatever it is that you're doing, and then consciously see, what do I want from this life? What do I want to create? How can I create with love so that my destiny is something, that I am creating? And that can be difficult. Here's the Seven of Pentacles, which, is about working on something, trying to get it to bloom. But see here, this cactus is not, you don't want to you don't want to put your finger on that. So it's not easy for you to do this. Of course it's not, but because these karmic patterns can be really, really, ingrained in our DNA almost, so it takes a lot of work to figure out what it is that's preventing you from seeing these patterns, what it is that is basically, you know, holding your power back, so that you can so you can step out of that and call your power back to yourself. I feel like I'm missing something here. Tell me more, Spirit. What is the viewer not? What don't the viewer see coming here? Can you tell me more? What are we overlooking? Queen of Wands. Two of Wands. Again, decision, and a very balanced one. It's like, how do I make decisions that are good for me, good for, my family, if the people that I care about, but are following. Here's the Queen of Wands. She's very aligned with her purpose, very passionate, creative, that type of thing. How can I balance my needs for being who I truly am at a very core level, which is the Queen of Wands, with the decisions that I need to make in my everyday life, and the people that I love and care about. Queen of Pentacles at the bottom here. Abundance, prosperity, again here. Underneath this is the seer of stories. So yeah, for some of you, these are stories that's been told in your family. This is generational trauma of some sort that are kind of keeping you stuck in patterns that you're not wanting to, well, sorry, not that you don't want to, that's not the correct way, but that you're not really seeing. Or perhaps, there's a part of you that's kind of like, yeah, I know I people please sometimes. I know, that maybe I do more for certain people than they do for me. Maybe I have a hard time asking for help. Maybe I, let people walk all over me once in a while. Um, but life is going on, and it's just it's kind of like sometimes it's just easier to ignore these things. But this is literally spirit saying, hey, nope, it is time to call back your power. It is time for you to make an active choice about, how do I want my future to look? What am I here to create? Um, because these stories that you accept or not, or don't accept, choosing to change, is the cause and effect, the patterns that create, the faith, the karma for the next generation, the next life. If you believe in more than one life, that type of thing. But even if you don't, It's the generational patterns that we pass down to our kids that just keeps repeating, keeps people stuck in unhealthy situations and unhealthy ways of being where they are not living up to their full potential. And this is not, to knock you over the head or anything. This is more of a, you know, see yourself through the eyes of love and the potential that is not being expressed if you don't dare dare to see these patterns for what they are. And if you're watching this, then you have the key. You are definitely one of those people chosen for generational healing, or you wouldn't be watching this. It wouldn't be calling your soul. So there's something here for you to heal, not only for yourself, but for your children if you have children, but also just for the overall energy of the people that you care about. All right, Spirit, do you have any advice here? Four Wands. Stability. Seven of Swords. Queen of Cups. And Strength at the bottom here. This to me is like, here's the Seven of Swords, which, can be kind of about deceit and, lies. In this case, stories we tell ourselves, well, it might not be so bad and I don't really mind and blah, 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 that type of thing. But they mess with your stability in the sense that you're, the the fundamental, I can't even talk. There's parts of you that you are kind of building your life on that are feeling out of alignment, that are feeling somewhat repressed, that are feeling like you always have to be the one who gives too much. So you're basically, and please don't get offended, but you're kind of lying to yourself, or you're at least telling yourself, something that's not entirely true, that, well, this is okay, and this person really needs my help, and, whatever it is that is taking your time and your energy and your power, which, if it is your kids, of course, they do have priority over a lot of other things, but you also are allowed to take up space. Your feelings, your wants, your needs are allowed to be. And here's a call here. Here's the Queen of Cups. See how she has the snake, ready to shred its skin and grow. And you're meant to grow. That's part of this. And Spirit is like, all right, in order for you to create more abundance and prosperity in your life, you need to make conscious decisions. You need to see the signs, and you need to call back your power and work on manifesting from a more powerful place to heal some of these patterns. It's kind of like this, it stops with me. I don't want to teach my kids to people please, but you are if you people please with them, if you, and I'm not saying you do, please don't, but some situation, if you overgive, if you're always fixing things for other people, which in some cases they really could fix for themselves, but sometimes we become kind of used to it. We get in that habit. I know I do. So it's time. Call back your power. Here's the Strength card. Remember who you are. And that's not to say you can't do things for people. Of course you can. But it has to come from a place of wanting to, from a loving, kind place, not from a, well, I guess, somebody's going to have to fix this, or, because a lot of things, and we sometimes have to remember this, sometimes when we try to fix things for people, we're actually doing them a disservice because they are not taking responsibilities that are actually theirs. And that can be, hard to articulate, hard to get to the point where you're sort of like, well, I see that you are in need of whatever it is you're in need of here. Um, and I'll help you when I have time, but until then you can try blah, 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 and then go about your business and let them deal with whatever it is. Depend if it's small kids, of course not, but you know what I'm getting here. So there's something here about too of letting people take responsibility for themselves so that you can take the full responsibility for you in a positive, healthy way. I hope it makes sense. Sometimes I feel like I get a little all over the place. One last card. Thank you. Yeah, King of Pentacles. See, this is you standing in your own power, being like, yep, I can manifest the things I want in my life. I am solid. I am on solid ground here. I know what I want. I'm kind. I'm loving. I'm stable. I am, have my boundaries, standing in my power. Let's see here. Yeah. See? Page of Wands. Creativity, curiosity, what is it I want to create? Follow the signs. I feel like she need a companion. One more card, Spirit. Yeah, the Chariot. There's movement here. It's time to let go of all this heaviness, of the burden of, this is the burden of all these generational patterns that are there. Some of them you're aware of, some of them you're not. But even if you're not aware of them, they can mess with your energy, they can mess with your life. And it's time that you pay attention to what comes up and kind of question, hey, is this really good for me or not? And if it's not, then make different decisions, so that you are more aligned with yourself and you're actively co-creating with spirit the future that you want to envision. And that's the truth, because here's the Ace of Swords. So thank you so much for watching. Click like, subscribe, write me a message if you feel called to do so. I really do appreciate you being here. Thank you so much. Big love.